Welcome to the Lubbock or Leave It podcast, a recruiting podcast on Red Raider Sports. I'm Matt Clare. He's Ben Golan. Before we dive into it, we want to thank our title sponsor, Carnley Properties. If you have any real estate needs in the Austin area, please contact Clayton Carnley. Not only is he a longtime Red Raider Sports member and a great Red Raider, just a good dude, and his team is very knowledgeable. I don't know about you, Ben, but whenever you're buying a house, you're buying land, doing any of this stuff, you need somebody in your corner that can help you out and make the most of those dollars and cents. And, I would say I would trust Clayton and his team with my business. So we'll include their info underneath the player here. And with that being said, Ben, holy hell, man. We got on this last one last week. We missed it. And we did a round table, right? But the last one, we joked about, hey, how you were on vacation and nothing had happened. And we talked about Wells being let go, what that means, yada, yada, yada. Here we are 2 weeks later. Joey McGuire is the head coach of Texas Tech University. Obviously, I know that you're a fan of the hire because we talk every day, but you're pretty vocal about that on the website and social media. And so I guess let's start there. Like, why are you excited, and why did you think he was the right guy for the search committee to choose?
Yeah, I think, we're only 3 days in or 4 days in, whatever it is, and he hasn't won a game yet. So, right. But I think you've seen it just from the press conference, from what he's doing on the recruiting trail, from he brought over Baylor's top recruiting guy, a guy who had zero connections to Tech, by the way, and he managed to bring him over with him. I think, James Blanchard, we'll get into him later, but I mean, I think McGuire is just a rock star as far as he's going to put together a great staff. He knows every single Texas high school coach, and he has great connections throughout the state. And I just think from a pure talent level, like, things are about to go up here across the board, especially on the lines, I think, which is where Tech has historically struggled. So, I mean,
Sure.
you bring in, we don't know who his coordinators are going to be yet for sure. He hasn't announced that, but I think you put together some X's and O's guys around him, and I think there's real potential there. So I just think high level, that's why I thought Joey McGuire was the right man. And I think now you look at the board, all the excitement from everyone. I think people are starting to see that as well.
Yeah, and it seemed like for years, we would post a recruiting update and it would get 100, 200, 300 views maybe, right? And I mean, I'm doing these mini videos, you're doing updates, tracking new offers, introducing the Blanchard, like you mentioned, that we'll get into. And, we're seeing 1,000 views in a blink of an eye, 2,000, 4,000, ADs, details of McGuire's contract has like 26,000 views. I just think it speaks to the fan base and the rabid fan base and the love for Texas Tech that Red Raiders truly have. And so, again, I've worked here forever, and so I've seen that juice, before, and I don't know, Ben, if you've ever been a part of that, but to kind of get us back on track. And again, not looking backwards, but it feels different to me, Ben, for all the reasons you've mentioned. Of course, I've been beating that drum, talking about that kind of stuff for years. But it feels like he really wants the job. He really wants to be in Lubbock. There's a lot of jobs, right? But he wants to be there. And it seems like over the past 2 or 3 coaches, it was, I'm here to rebuild the program, or I'm here to fix the program. And, not a lot of people want to hear that stuff. I mean, you can debate fractured fan bases or whatever. Everyone likes to win. That's the cure, right? But doesn't it feel different from that standpoint, as he wants to be here? He's talked about, the values and what he wants to do within the building. And he's, again, I mentioned he's joined a lot of shows. He's very consistent with that messaging and that passion. And so I just think that that's going to resonate with the players. And like you said, the coordinator hires are very, very, very important. However, it's also very, very important that Tech did make the decision that they made, because now you have a new head coach over a month before signing day. right? The kids that I'm talking to, that we'll get into a little bit, but you've got a couple of kids that want to enroll in January. They're graduating early. So they don't want to mess around. They want to know what's going on. They probably want some of these details. And then, of course, you're not the only schools calling on them. But again, the
The
last thing
last
I'll
thing
say
I'll
about McGuire is I always knew he'd be a good recruiter. That doesn't, surprise anyone. But just the comment that he made about being consistent and rising like the sun every day. I mean, I truly want you guys to believe that, because I've seen the guy in action. And I mean, what has it been? 30 offers in 3 days or something crazy like that. I mean, they are getting after it right now. So yeah, real high level, Ben. All that scuttlebutt, right? This is why you need to be on Red Raider Sports, even before everybody, oh, the AJ, right? Great. But we're not big J's, nobody that we work with is, we talked, we had our own Zoom before this, and we were like, hey, who broke the Wells news or who broke the Kingsbury news? Yeah, who cares, right? And so I just thought that, again, kudos to you, kudos to the whole team. Level posted his deal on Sunday, and we knew that was going to happen, and it almost didn't feel real because it was almost time for bed. And then you wake up and it has just been since Monday. I mean, like nonstop, right? And that's everyone involved, right? That's the search committee, the press conference, the players, the coaches, etc. But man, that catches fire on Sunday night. Monday morning, it starts getting confirmed, because I think the Avalanche Journal tweeted it at like midnight, basically, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Definitely people noticed it, and it carried over into the morning. But the point is we talk recruiting, and okay, everything comes out, tweets, confirmations, but he's not flying to Lubbock till Tuesday. He's not even introduced at a press conference till Tuesday afternoon at noon. And Monday evening, we start catching wind that, hey, he's going to get a couple commits tonight.
Three.
Right. And then it ends up being three, and nobody. And I mean, nobody, right? We got on this same podcast. We're like, nothing, not much to talk about this week, Ben. No new offers, right? We've got these commitments. Haven't heard about any visitors, 2022 visitors anyway, right? And now it was just pow, pow, pow. You essentially got 25% of your class in one night. Now, again, they were all from Cedar Hill, Ben, but in one night, like, what was your takeaway from that?
Yeah, I mean, just a huge night for Joey McGuire, and it's smart too. What does it do? It builds up interest in the program. It's been way too long since Tech has been nationally relevant, but I mean, not just with the commits, with all the new offers too. People are talking about Texas Tech, other media types, other recruiting websites. Like Texas Tech is in the news right now, and it's great to see because it's just been so long. But I mean, yeah, do you want to get into the commits or just kind of keep it high level? Or
I mean, I think we could keep it brief. We've got so just if you're watching this, I know maybe I keep forgetting we have like a lot of new users, or maybe new listeners. So we post this every week, right? Just a Zoom video. It's primarily recruiting. When we do have, a little downtime, Ben will get into basketball recruiting and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, there's full stories on the site, there's Q&As, there's all sorts of stuff that we do. And when the dust settles, we have some folks on staff that do evals and kind of tapes and turn them into gifts and stuff. So we'll get into each commit in a lot more detail, especially closer to signing day. But these three guys, Cedar Hill, that's where Joey McGuire spent 14 years, won 3 state titles, so he's the guy around there. And one of his former defensive coordinators, now head coach there. And so, again, I don't know if it was loyalty by any means, but I think it was just good timing because Jalen Peoples got the party started and his older brothers, played for Joey McGuire. And so even when we had interviewed him, he was a tech target for Derek Jones and the previous staff.
Visited this summer.
Yeah, over 30 offers, a very, fluid recruitment, one-time Baylor commit, one-time Kansas commit. It just kind of was all over the map. And I mean, he basically told both our Washington and our Kansas State sites that day when McGuire was offered, or either that night, hey, if they show interest, I'm definitely interested. I think I want to play for him, like
Yeah.
flat out. And so I think that all happened very quickly. He got the offer, he committed. Same thing with the D lineman. I mean, again, I don't want to hog the mic here, but the D lineman, to me, if you'd have told me that story ahead of time, I wouldn't have believed you. I say, okay, all afternoon we're texting each other. Okay, they're going to get Peoples. That's great. This is momentum, blah, blah. And then Level's like, hey, just wait. I think I'm hearing more. And we start digging in and we know, okay, all we knew is, hey, one of these guys had just got an LSU offer or something. Right. And so
Sincere
you and I
Massey.
start
Yeah.
digging, they follow us back. We start talking. And dude, I mean, at that point, they hadn't even heard from the coaches. That's how quickly this is happening. So Coach McGuire gets on the phone with both of them. They want to play football together. Henry has plenty of offers and chose Texas Tech on the spot. What's
Harvey,
the
Harvey Dyson and Sincere Massey.
Insincere Harvey Dice?
Yeah.
Sorry if I said their names wrong. I apologize. I didn't want to look over here. So Sincere, literally in the span of 2.5 to 3 hours, gets the Tech offer, announces it, talks to his family, decommits from Arizona State, and then commits to Tech about an hour later. Again, there's a whole story on the site with comments from all these kids individually. And so, I mean, to me, I've been in recruiting a long time, Ben, really have. And I mean, that was a new one, right? To have all that happen and to see all this momentum. And
Before he even gets introduced. It's pretty crazy.
exactly. And so that's where, you kind of feel it's a little bit different, right? And I do think, people point, okay, they were Cedar Hill kids, but I mean, they're already making new offers and they have kids. I mentioned we're going to get into we're going to talk about Blanchard here in a minute, but we'll get into some of the new 2022 commits. There's 2 of them I've already written about that are graduating in December and they want to sign in the next month. And then they both have visits set up to Tech. So, I mean, they're putting in work and they're getting in touch with these guys, ASAP. So all these connections, all of that recruiting prowess and whatnot, like they're showing it right out of the gate.
Yeah. And Joey McGuire said in his press conference and all the different podcasts he's joined since that, he's going to major in Texas high school recruiting. I think, is he going to use the portal? I expect that. He'll probably get a handful each year for sure. Is he going to take a JUCO or 2? For sure. But I think, Texas Tech is going to sign a significant amount of Texas high school prospects every year now. I just think that's how he wants to build his program. That's what they did at Baylor with Matt Rule. The first year there, they signed like 20, 28 guys, right? Do they all work out? No. But what it does, you go 1-11, but those guys get better. They go through the program. And by year 3, they're winning 11 games. That's how you build it. And so, but just going back to the Cedar Hill, I mean, yeah, that's where I used to coach, in 2016. So just for him to have that kind of pull, to get a guy like Sincere Massey, who was committed to another Power 5 program, and just like that, in 2 hours, you're decommitting, you're coming here. It's very impressive. And then Dyson, I'm going to their game tomorrow,
Right.
Cedar Hill. So, I haven't seen too much of Dyson. Not going to sit here and act like I have, but I'm excited to go see him tomorrow. And then Peoples, up and down recruitment for sure. But again, 30 plus offers. When the rankings first came out, he was a 4-star guy. So clearly very talented, the type of guy that, you bring in here and he's just a high level, impact potential freshman, in my opinion. And so, you mentioned you talked to Cade McConnell, Ty Canna. It sounds like Joey really wants to load this class up, get a bunch of talented freshmen in here, which, I think is quite a change from, what it originally was going to look like.
Well, yeah. And I think that's another conversation for another podcast, but you went into the evening with 9 commits and Tech's name wasn't out there in that recruiting world, and they didn't have, all of these offers. And, to be fair to I thought about this, to be fair to the coaches, it was an open contact period. So if everything was intact, sure, they would have been on the road. They would have seen guys, they would have made some offers. They wouldn't have made 30 in 3 days. And I know that that's a mix of 2022 and 2023, but I don't see this stopping. I don't see them getting to like an absurd amount of offers either. But we've seen 2024s mixed in. And that's only going to accelerate once you start to see the defensive coordinator and then the offensive coordinator get in place and all of their assistants. That's what I'm most interested in, is seeing who fills those roles. To me, coordinator is going to work itself out, but the assistants, where they come from, what their background is, that's wildly, fascinating to me. And knowing that, I thought, I thought it was kind of interesting. Coach Traylor, was congratulating at Coach Traylor at UTSA. I'm sorry, I said that very casually. Was congratulating Coach McGuire in a press conference after practice or whatnot down in San Antonio. And he had said all these nice things. And at the end, he's like, oh, and I'm really excited to see how he feels out of staff. And he said, just remember, Joey, we have 7 high school coaches on staff. And I was like, that made me think, right? Friendly banter, but okay, fine. 7, I'll take 4, 5,
Well,
and that could include, assistants and, off-field personnel as well.
Well, who did Joey McGuire learn from? Is Matt Rule. And what did Matt Rule do when he first got to Baylor? Is he hired, a bunch of, not a bunch, but a significant amount of high school coaches, including Joey, to come in and help build the program. And I do think we'll get, at least a couple, I would assume, and some, doesn't have to be on-field coaches. It can be, some off-the-field roles or what have you. But I think Joey just has such strong connections with different high school coaches. I think I would almost expect there to be, a couple on the staff in some kind of capacity.
All right. Well, before we move on, we do have another sponsor for the pod. It is Home Field Apparel. And guys, the season's still here. The fall's still here. They've got hoodies. They've got long sleeve sweaters. They've got these t-shirts that are super comfortable for wearing around the house, going running errands with the old school logos. They've got basketball. They've got everything. I've had this one for months. Just throw it in the dryer, let it hang dry, and it's just like it was when it came out of the package. So really quality stuff. If you put code RRS for all first time purchases, you get 15% off. Not a bad deal. I would highly encourage you to get you and the missus, you and the family, especially for the holidays coming up, knock out some early Christmas shopping, Ben, get the wife a home field shirt. Don't tell her you got 15% off, and just act like you paid full price and it'll look awesome. Anyway, I want to transition. You brought up something that you brought up his time with Rule. And one thing that I think in hindsight, I really respect about Coach Rule is he was willing to think outside of the box. He was willing to kind of challenge maybe some conceptions and some, oh, well, this person has to have this background or this person has to do that. And one really shining example of that, I think, is James Blanchard. And that's a guy where, I mentioned earlier, the McGuire news starts to get out about 9:30 on Sunday evening, right? By midnight, it's confirmed by the local paper. Monday, it's rolling. And then we see these commits that we just talked about on Monday evening. Well, Coach McGuire and his family were flying from Waco to Lubbock, and they got in mid-morning, but the social media team was with them. And so they were taking pictures while he boarded the private jet in Waco, and we're texting each other. I think we all saw it at the same time. So you were texting the group and I was just tweeting it, and I was like, that's James Blanchard. Like, I know it, I've met him before. Boom. Like, if he's on that plane, like, wow. And so James Blanchard, in terms of connecting those dots, that all happened Tuesday. And James Blanchard is the mastermind behind all these multiple offers that we talk about. We've probably run its course on conversation here. Ben will follow up maybe early next week, but Ben's keeping track of all the new offers. I'm rounding it out at about 30 over the past 3 days. Is that fair, Ben?
38.
Okay, 40. Anyway, James Blanchard, when it ties back to outside of the box, James Blanchard was literally just a guy posting on Twitter. He has an athletic background. He has athletic, siblings, family, etc. And he's from the Orange County, that's California.
409.
The 409, right? Orange, Texas area. And, they've produced a ton of talent over the years. But the point is that there are, we're pretty lucky, right? We write for Rivals, that adds some credibility to what we do. There's a lot of people that, cover football. There's like a Friday Night Glory that have correspondence and stuff like that. So when you see these new people on Twitter, you never know, with who they are and where they're coming from. And so the thing that made him so unique is I often tell, like, we both have day jobs. I often tell my coworkers, like, look, this isn't that crazy. I can take you down the street to the high school practice and you're going to be able to point out the kid that's 6'6", 300 pounds. Like, that's not hard. But
Yeah.
what is hard is to find the sophomore that's still a puppy, or to find the kid that might be playing this position or that position, or playing a lower level of football, and seeing what they could be. And so I think he really separated himself, just being a guy that says, I think this guy is as good as these guys, and here's why. And that caught the attention of someone at Baylor, right? Whether Matt Rowe gets all the credit or not, but he came in and immediately, Ben, we used to, kind of jokes on us, right? We used to see these kids and be like, who's Baylor taking this tight end? That guy's a badass right now. Like, I remember when they got him, and these guys that are unranked, some of them don't even have a recruiting profile, and it's just, there's a lot to say about being early on those kids and developing that relationship. And it's almost a process that you see where basically Blanchard's out there making the connection, and then McGuire's coming in to knock out the relationship portion. So clearly they liked working together, more enough so to where Blanchard, probably got a raise and, something else. But director of player personnel is the title, Ben. I mean, I don't know if I left anything out, but man, kind of fill in the blanks on Blanchard and, what you've seen from him so far.
Yeah, very impressive. Like you mentioned, he was running a kind of a recruiting service. He would make rankings. He had a very good eye for talent. And yeah, I mean, Baylor hired him 2019. Matt Rule thought so highly of him. He took him to the Carolina Panthers. He wasn't, a scout for them. I think Blanchard really enjoyed the college game though. So, after a year with the Panthers, he went back to Baylor. I just think that's where he thrives. He loves making those connections with prospects and looking at film. And he's really good at it too. So, I mean, I've talked to him 38 offers. I've either messaged or, exchanged messages with most of them. And the amount of players that are like, oh yeah, Coach Blanchard, that's my guy, how much players seem to gravitate towards him. And like you said, I mean, he's offered guys without profiles. I've had to make several profiles, but I guarantee you look at these guys in a couple months and they're going to be 3-star, 4-star type prospects, when right now, no one knows about them. And it's just pretty crazy. So that's just going to benefit Tech down the line. Once these other schools do jump in, hey, who was first? It's Texas Tech. And it's, I mean, so, and just, 2 4-star linebackers, not to get too deep into this, but 2 4-star linebackers that he offered, that I posted about, Christian Braithwaite and Corey Kelly. He offered them the last couple of days. Both of them just raved about Blanchard, and they were saying that Tech's about to make major moves with, little side eye emoji and all these different things. So I think, they're working on the 2022 class, obviously the future classes too. I just think 2023, they're already making a ton of offers and moves there. Pretty exciting stuff to see.
If you didn't catch that, that was side eyes emoji. Just
Right.
to clarify. Okay.
Yes.
Recruiting's dumb sometimes, but I love it. All right. Well, so we've kind of run the gamut here, and I think what we should do, Ben, is we should probably put a pin in it, and then over, we still 38 new offers. Maybe we've talked to 15 of them, right? I mean, we've got a lot of work to do. The good news is a lot of those are underclassmen, but the high school season just ended. The playoffs are starting. I really haven't made any progress on like what the rules are, with McGuire, sure, he's going to be on the sidelines for the games, but is he allowed to take a trip to Dallas to watch a playoff game tomorrow night? Like, I mean, I don't have that answer, but that'd be interesting to me. And then also, I don't know, maybe like round it out with like a call your shot. It's November 11th. We're recording on a Thursday night. if the college season has 3 games left in the regular season, and if you're looking at some candidate that's playing in a championship game, you really are looking at like that first weekend of December before you can announce a coordinator, would be my guess, right? And then if the rumors are true about Mike Saravo, the linebacker coach from the Panthers, then I would imagine that you have to finish an NFL season, which that goes, I think with the new schedule, that goes pretty deep, right?
Yeah, unless the Panthers are, they start losing a bunch of games and they're out of it, I don't think Rule would force them to stay. Maybe. I mean, I don't know that. I'm
Well,
just
but
assuming.
the season has an extra game, so some people's
Sure.
games are like the
It,
first week of January.
January. Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know how that works, but I mean, that was a long-winded way of saying, like, when do you think we'll have some clarity on? Because right now it's just it's Blanchard and McGuire just running and gunning on the telephone right now, which is great. We'll keep doing that. But when do you think we'll get some clarity on the coordinators, if you had to guess?
I would definitely say after the regular season ends for most of these schools. Savaro is an interesting one just because he has a job with the Panthers. We don't know the answer. And then I think once the season ends, Joey McGuire is going to he knows who he wants. He has his 1, 2, 3 for offensive coordinator, right? We don't know the order, but I would assume he's going to conduct those interviews after the season and try to get his guy in here.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't surprise me if there's also a few visitors that we're not aware of yet for this weekend
Yes.
for the Iowa State game. I know for certain. I just talked to Ty. I don't know if it's Kana or Kana. I guess I should have asked that, but I believe it's Kana. He was a former USC commit, Texas top 100 linebacker out of Katy, where they just produce talented football players. He's going to be in town for the Oklahoma State game, and he's one of those kids I had alluded to that wants to graduate early. The offensive lineman, Cade McConnell, who's still committed to TCU, he told me at the time, I want to see what happens with Coach Anderson. When I Google Coach Anderson, he is our father's age and has coached at TCU for 24 years. So unless he is just OG offensive lineman, we can kind of tell what's going to happen there. But a lot of other coaches are sniffing around. I believe he got Vandy today. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, 2 visitors one this weekend, Samaje Burrell, he's a 2023 linebacker that was offered 3-star. And then John Curry, I wrote a story. He's from Lubbock, Coronado. He'll be there next week against Oklahoma State. So you see some of these offered guys, 2023, sure, but they're going to get on campus. They're going to get to talk to McGuire and Blanchard and, start building those relationships.
Yeah, well, I don't want to oversell it, but I've talked to, the last thing I'll say is I've talked to a lot of people. I wanted to get a lot of outsider perspective because, the one thing I can't shake, Ben, is that it certainly does feel different. And I've been through a few of these, certainly not as many as others in this industry, but you look around the landscape of college football and some programs are in the same spot. They're on their third or their fourth head coach in, a decade, and they're trying to find an identity. And I think that, I think you can find guys to run an offense. You can find guys to run a defense. You can find assistants that can recruit, but you've got to have a top down sort of mentality at head coach. And, they've got to be able to infuse the entire team with that passion and, all of those values that coach was talking about. And it just, I mean, I don't know, like the funniest thing that I heard was one guy told me his top choice was Brett Venables. And we go through, we get done talking about that. I said, something tells me Brett Venables wouldn't have been screaming Raider power into the microphone to start his press conference, So, it's definitely, you look at it a bunch of different ways, but the fact that he wants to be here, the fact that he's going to pour himself into it, I think that's why people are so wildly interested right now, or have a renewed interest in Tech football. So we'll see where that goes. It'd be pretty cool if they can get one more win, because ultimately it doesn't mean much, but those 15 extra practices could mean the world for a new coach who's breaking in new players, young guys, especially early enrollees. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, man. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I mean, not really. Just his press conference was awesome. I think you mentioned the rate of power, the I will die here at Texas Tech. Your tweet kind of blew up on that. Whenever
Yeah.
you posted that, just yeah, a very, inspiring rally the troops type of press conference. It was good to see a bunch of players there too, going to see their future head coach.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think a lot of those guys are aware of Joey McGuire, and he was at Baylor for 5 years. So
Yeah.
odds are he's DM'd with them or recruited them in the past. So, pretty interesting to see what happens there. And ultimately wildly interested to see how they can finish from a recruiting standpoint from now and until December 17th, when kids can sign the dotted line. But guys, for Ben Golan, I'm Matt Clare. This has been the Lubbock or Leave It podcast. Shout out to Carnley Properties. Shout out to Home Field Apparel. We'll post that info here below the player, and we will talk with you guys soon.